everyone, it's Britt Lightning from Vixen and the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and you're listening to My Weekly Mixtape with Brian Colburn.
Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me tonight are two guest curators, both from the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp's Rock Camp, the podcast. It's my pleasure to welcome to the program Britt Lightning, lead guitarist for Vixen and musical director for the camp, as well as Miles Schumann, co-host of Rock Camp, the podcast. Britt and Miles, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having us. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Well, tonight I get to start by asking you both my first-time guest question. I guess, Britt, we'll start with you. What does the word mixtape mean to you?
Well, I grew up when there were still real mixtapes on cassettes, so I did that constantly. I mean, that brings me right back to middle school, where I would sit by the radio with my blank tape and just wait for the song and make sure I caught the intro, because I always wanted those smooth intro and outro transitions on my mixtape. That was big for me. And then sometimes I would come on and DJ in between and do the breaks and be like, all right, that was so-and-so, and now we've got so-and-so. I'm all about the mixtapes. And I loved making mixtapes growing up for my friends. And then when I would have boyfriends, they would make me mixtapes. And that was like, we didn't really make out or anything. We were too young kind of for that. So we just made mixtapes, and that meant I love you.
Exactly. What better way to say I love you than with the gift of a mixtape?
Exactly.
You put the time in. If you'd made a 90-minute mixtape for somebody, that was 4 hours of commitment at minimum.
Right. And you knew the level of devotion and love or lust by the song choices. So it was very telling.
So Miles, same question to you.
Well, I'm 24. I don't know what these tapes are. I never had. But a mixtape, I grew up in the era of playlist. We were all making playlists and everything, but we still called them mixtapes. And so for me, it transcended the actual tape. It's something that we still use in our, everyday vocabulary. It's still a common phrase. And so a mixtape is a playlist to me. I call it a mixtape.
And it's funny you mentioned that, Miles, because that's something that I try to bring to this show week in and week out. Because when Britt and I were younger, making the actual mixtapes, it was a big time commitment. You really had to sit down and block out hours of time to do this. Whereas a playlist, sometimes it's so quick and so immediate. The thought process behind which songs you're choosing, why you're choosing them, why they matter, going back to back, that all goes away, sometimes entirely for some people, all because of that shuffle button, something the cassette didn't have. It was introduced with mixed CDs, but not really used as much. But then by the time you got to playlists, sometimes the order of the songs didn't matter anymore. It was just that the songs were there. And the order does matter as far as I'm concerned. And that's what I'm trying to bring back through the conversations on this show. So for tonight's episode, we're going to take that approach and put it to the test. And this is a topic I think both of you are going to be quite familiar with. Tonight, we're going to be curating the ultimate classic rock anthems mixtape. Now, these could be songs you hear on classic rock radio, the staples. They could be iconic album cuts, or songs that may or may have not officially been released as singles, but are still in the hearts of classic rock fans all over the world. And I'm guessing a lot of these songs can simply be the ones that you've seen featured the most at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp weekends. So Britt, as the musical director for the Rock Camp, you've seen and been a part of countless performances. What are you looking for in the songs you brought to the table this evening?
Well, when you said classic rock anthems, I'm thinking about songs that have words everybody knows, ones that open and close concerts, ones that everybody looks forward to and gets up and sings along to. So, and also that doesn't necessarily mean that they're slow songs or anything like that. They can be, an anthem can also be just like this hard rocking, anthem. It doesn't mean ballad.
Now, Miles, you're coming from a little bit of a different situation here because you're someone who attended the camp as early as 11 years old and now, 13 years later, is working for the camp. Did that impact the songs that you're bringing to the table tonight? And if so, how?
Yeah, coming to rock and roll fantasy camp growing up is really how I got to know music. And so you're totally right that we hear a lot of the anthems at rock and roll fantasy camp. And I think there's certain songs that, you know, even if you're not a rock fan, you hear this song, you know who that is, you know the band, you know what it is. And I think that's really what a rock anthem is. You know, it transcends just rock fans. These are songs that last the test of time. And definitely we hear them a lot at rock and roll fantasy camp.
Well, let's get down to business. Tonight, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Britt, Miles, and I will be curating the ultimate classic rock anthems mixtape, and we'll use that old cassette deck approach. Since I have two guests this evening, the format will be slightly altered from the usual, as tonight, Britt will begin side A with her first song choice, and then we'll roundtable the panel until we've mapped out 10 songs for side A. We'll then give our mixtape a proverbial flip, and we'll map out side B, only this time Miles will kick off the roundtable discussions. Our overall goal for the episode is to craft the best classic rock anthems mixtape possible through only 20 songs. At the end of the show, you can take our conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com to give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, become a future guest, and so much more. And a few of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with the songs they would use to kick off this evening's festivities, and I'd like to give a quick shout out to those. Tom Hutchison chimed in with the Scorpions' I'm Leaving You, Pink Floyd's Time, and Motley Crue's Wild Side. Chad Lamassa chimed in saying Queen's We Will Rock You has to be on there, along with a more recent anthem of the White Stripes' Seven Nation Army. David Owens chimed in saying Journey should make the list, and his first thought was Wheel in the Sky. He also chose the Eagles' Life in the Fast Lane. Seeker chimed in saying there's no mucking around for him, and he's going with either AC/DC's Highway to Hell or Hell's Bells, depending on if you wanted to go with the Bon Scott or Brian Johnson era. Mike Daly chimed in with two killer tracks, Rush's La Villa Strangiato and Van Halen's Jamie's Cryin'. Philip Bergman chimed in saying, since the unofficial motto of rock and roll is sex, drugs, and rock and roll, let's capture that whole gestalt in one fell swoop with Bad Company's Shooting Star. And Cactus Pete chimed in with Led Zeppelin's The Ocean. So Britt, with those songs out in the atmosphere, I'm officially pressing the record button on our mixtape, and the floor is yours. What song did you choose to kick off side A?
Okay, so side A, I chose Stairway to Heaven.
Going with Led Zeppelin right from the jump. The anthem of anthems. Why did you choose this?
Well, because like you said, it's the anthem of anthems. I mean, it's the quintessential. It takes you on this like journey. It starts off slow. It brings you somewhere. It's a full story from beginning, middle, and end. It's a journey.
Yeah, you know, there's a reason that it's banned from every guitar store ever. It is that is the quintessential riff, you know, and so, I mean, when you think about rock anthems, how can you not think about Zeppelin? Stairway to Heaven's got to be the first song that comes to mind.
I couldn't agree more with both of you. It made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll, Classic Rock's 10 of the best songs ever. It topped Classic Rock's list of the 10 best songs ever, as well as Guitar World's 100 greatest guitar solos. It's also ranked on VH1's 100 greatest rock songs of all time. And then fast forward to the 90s. Wayne's World brought it back into the conversation with No Stairway, Denied. This is one of those songs that I was, for so many years, was conflicted about anyone ever attempting to cover it. And then at the Kennedy Center Honors, Hart did that cover with Jason Bonham on drums. And if there's anybody on this planet that can sing Robert Plant's vocals as good as Robert Plant sang them originally, it's Ann Wilson of Heart. And she slayed that performance so hard, it brought tears to Robert Plant's eyes, which I think says all that there needs to be said about that particular performance of this amazing song. So, Britt, I guess my question for you is, does the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp lean towards covering the song in the style that Hart did at the Kennedy Center Honors, or is it leaning more towards the Wayne's World No Stairway Denied?
No, we've banned it just like Guitar Center.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So Stairway, denied. Miles, with that, we're up to you for track 2.
Okay, so I'm going with Kiss, Rock and Roll All Night. I mean, that is the rock and roll anthem that people think of. For the longest time, when I thought of anthems, as far as rock and roll goes, I thought that was the only one. You know, it's so that was one of the first I ever heard. I had a toothbrush as a kid that played Rock and Roll All Night out of it.
What?
That speaks to the Kiss, to Gene Simmons' marketing skills and everything, of course. But yeah, I mean, how can you not have that one on the list?
Was it brush and floss all night, or was it?
I want that. That would really help me get into my good mood when I need to brush my teeth.
It does.
Right?
I think it's a whole. We're not going to plug them. They're not sponsoring this show, but there's a whole company, that makes them toothbrushes that play your favorite songs, and they had a Kiss one with Rock and Roll All Night.
From 1975's Dressed to Kill, or should we say Brushed to Kill, the quintessential Kiss song, the concert closer. Shocked that this song never was a top 40 hit for the band. It only reached 68 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, and yet it's ingrained in the classic rock Mount Rushmore based on just the fans' love of this song. And then bringing it back to the 90s for myself, there was that iconic performance in the 90s on Kiss Unplugged that brought the original members back together for the first time after all the changes in the 80s. So to me, that song has held multiple levels of importance in Kisstory. So with that, Britt, your thoughts on Rock and Roll All Night?
Oh, one of the best. Yeah, I've seen Kiss many times in concerts, and I just see confetti coming down from the rafters and everything when the song comes on. It's the best. Great choice, Miles. I love it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is an anthem. Obviously, I had Kiss in my list of songs that if they weren't brought up, I was actually thinking Deuce, because I thought like, wow, I think of a Kiss Alive and that first track that hits you out of the gate. But we've gone anthem and anthem here. So I have to follow up Stairway to Heaven and Rock and Roll All Night. And I know we're going to play Chicken with the Train for 20 songs if I don't do it. So I'm just going to come right out of the gate. Let's get the Beatles off the table, because if we do a classic rock playlist and don't include the Beatles, I really just know the hate mail is going to come flowing in. So let's go with no shock here to anyone that listens to this show. I'm going with an album opening track. Let's go off of 1969's Abbey Road opening track, Come Together, because I feel like Come Together, in my humble opinion, reaches the level that Stairway to Heaven and Rock and Roll All Night hit. And my reasoning is primarily based on the fact that this is a song that leans more towards the rock side of the Beatles catalog versus the more ethereal, mellow, and beautiful side of the band's discography. And coming out of Led Zeppelin and Kiss, I feel like this is the perfect direction to go with a Beatles choice. Although I am sure there are Beatles fans listening that would have went in countless other directions, and I'd love to hear it, because that's what this show is about, the conversation. So if you would have gone in a different Beatles direction, let me know. But with that, I am following things up with the Beatles' Come Together.
Yeah, nice choice. Nice choice. I like it. Another song that's definitely, of course, stood the test of time. And when I think it brought it to a whole new audience and a new demographic when Aerosmith covered it, which was cool.
Oh, yeah.
And that is actually a staple song that we do at Rock Camp too. So because, it sounds big and full, but it's a simple song to play, really easy.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a bass player, and that bass line is, I don't know if there's a more recognizable bass line. And I was going to bring up the Aerosmith cover too. And the amount of bands that have covered that song, it's, the Beatles have so many great ones, but that one is going to be one that I think people recognize as an anthem forever.
Yeah, I have to admit, I love Aerosmith's cover of it. I had that Greatest Hits. The red Greatest Hits was my first ever Aerosmith cassette. And later in life, actually, I want to say in the last 10 years, one of my best friends came over and decided to bring a copy of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the movie, with him for us to watch. And yeah, it's not often anything leaves me speechless. And that movie certainly does, and I still don't know what my opinion is on it. I love the music. I love the fact that it's a music-based movie, but it's just... Yeah, you know what? Instead of me offering commentary, if you haven't seen it, Check it out for yourself and form your own opinion. But with that, Britt, following up Led Zeppelin, Kiss, and the Beatles, where are we going next?
Yes. Well, I have to do another one. And now this one reminds me of Stairway to Heaven in the structure of the song, the arrangement, how it starts off nice and slow and then it builds and takes you on a story and then it's rocking at the end. But the ultimate, even more band, well, not more band at Guitar Center, but more band at live shows is Free Bird.
Yes.
Gotta have it.
From their incredible 1973 debut studio album, Pronounced Leonard Skinnerd, which is such an amazing listen between Gimme 3 Steps, Simple Man, Tuesday's Gone, and then obviously Free Bird. This was a top 20 hit for the band, reached number 19 on the Billboard US Hot 100. But yeah, from a live musician standpoint, this song takes on a completely different meaning. Free Bird is one of those songs that my band actually learned the entire thing. So as soon as someone yells it out, we launch into it and it immediately quells any heckling. Because I say, well, for the next 17 minutes, thanks to this gentleman over here, we're going to just play Freebird. And we go through at least 2 of the verses. And if we could tell people we're into it, we'll finish the song. If they're not into it, we pivot out. But God, I love the song. I don't care that it's become one of the most cliched musician jokes on the planet. Like, if you're going to heckle a band, come up with something a bit more creative than Freebird, but I digress. The song still rocks.
And from the musician standpoint, if you ever need to stretch a set and fill some time, it's the perfect song choice.
Yeah, I think it's a great driving song too. And you know, any song that is a great song to drive to, I think rock anthems really make up that list the most, and this is one of the best of all time.
Well, now you get to follow up Freebird, Miles. No pressure. What follows up Freebird by Leonard Skinnerd?
Well, I like the way, Britt, that you kind of related Freebird to your last one. And so I'm going to go with a pick that is kind of similar to my last pick in a sense. I'm going to do We're Not Gonna Take It, Twisted Sister. You know, it starts off with that drum intro, just like Rock and Roll All Night. And look at the legacy of this song. It's used in rallies all over the place. It's used in, all sorts of different movements it's transcended even rock anthem. It's just an anthem, period, I think, at this point.
Now drop and give me 20. 1984's Stay Hungry. It was a top 40 hit, reaching number 21 on the Billboard US Hot 100. If you grew up watching MTV, this song is ingrained in your musical DNA. Not much that needs to be said about a song of this magnitude. However, it's even been made into a Christmas anthem because Twisted Sister changed the lyrics to "O Come O Ye Faithful" for a very twisted Christmas. I'm glad that we've got to track 5. We finally introduced cowbell into the mix, so that's exciting. And You're right. This is definitely one of those songs that just has taken on between sporting anthems, video games, movies, television. And then, like you said, Miles, the rally side of the spectrum. Now, with it being such a huge part of pop culture, Britt, is this a song that's heavily requested at the rock camps?
It's not. For some reason. But I love the sentiment. I think it's something that everybody can relate to because anybody that gets into rock and roll has a little rebellious streak in them. And so this, song really personifies that. But, surprisingly, no, it's not a popular play at rock camp.
Wow.
I'll say real quick that at Fantasy Camp, we see a lot of bands kind of try to throw something different in the mix. So sometimes people try to avoid these anthems at camp because they think other bands are going to play them. And then it just turns out nobody played them because everyone thinks that way. But it's interesting to see that happen sometimes with these songs.
Well, I'm going to pick one that if I was attending a rock and roll fantasy camp, I would love to be a part of, because something we haven't done yet is really introduce the vocal harmony aspect to classic rock. And the first group that comes to my mind and the first song that comes to my mind when I think about lush and impactful classic rock harmonies is the album that my mom has told me time and time again she listened to during her entire pregnancy with me, which is probably why this album is such a huge part of my life and so important to me and so embedded in who I am as a person musically. And that is Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. And I'm going to go with The Chain. Now, it did reach number 30 on the U.S. mainstream rock charts, but was not a Billboard Hot 100 Top 40 single for the band. However, it is very much ingrained in Fleetwood Mac's legacy. Just like Stairway to Heaven and just like Freebird, it's a song that takes you on a journey from slow to just insanity, but the harmonies in it are so lush and so beautiful. I wanted to introduce some female singers to this too, because I mean, you've got to talk Stevie Nicks and the late Christine McVie, both singularly for their vocal performances, and then when they sing together in harmony along with Lindsey Buckingham, oh my God. When I think of vocal harmonies in classic rock, Fleetwood Mac is one of the first groups that comes to mind.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs too. And I love Fleetwood Mac. And yeah, I think the big sound that they come up with, it really just makes all their songs kind of sound anthemic to me.
Yeah, it's one of those songs that even all my friends that aren't fans of rock, this song is going to be on their mixtape. That's for sure. So definitely a great choice.
And there's something about Lindsey's style of playing, the finger picking, that's so unique and so different that it does bring a different element to the song, because I've heard hard rock bands such as Taking Dawn recreate this song for a modern era. And while their version is absolutely incredible, there's something about Lindsey's style that makes it so unique. It's almost uncopyable, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Well, Britt, now you have the chance to follow up Fleetwood Mac's The Chain. What do you got next?
All right. Well, speaking of harmonies, this is a guitar-mony song instead of a vocal harmony, but I love Hotel California. It may be my favorite song ever in rock and roll.
Wow.
I think it is just the quintessential rock song that will, again, always stand the test of time. You've got Joe Walsh. You've got everybody in this band is completely amazing. So everybody on their own could have their own projects are all amazing. So when they come together, it's like, I don't think you can top the Eagles. I love them. So this is a big one for me. And I think everybody that hears this kind of builds their own story about what it's about. But I remember first seeing this album cover and just being mesmerized by the album art and everything, and just being totally fascinated. A sensation that I don't think people get growing up today when you just see things on Spotify and online as MP3s. So I feel bad for them, but you can still go into a vintage record store and pick up this record, and it is the best.
Yeah, I mean, that intro, the whole song, I mean, the 12-string, everything. It is. We had Don Felder at camp a couple years ago, and I got to see him play that live with everybody. And I mean, what a song! That's a great choice, Britt.
From 1976's Hotel California, the band's fourth #1 hit song, won the Grammy for Record of the Year. It's included on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. It was also named as one of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. I've been called out a few times on the show when I say, oh, everybody should know this song. This is a song that I feel comfortable saying everybody should know it because it is so important to music as a whole. I love the fact that my 15-year-old comes in and is familiar with the song because of all of the TikTok trends of people, of younger children and even adults trying to attack the guitar solo. And the fact that she brings it into me, even if, look, she's 15, on paper, she should be listening to nothing but Taylor Swift and Drake and whatever is popular on the radio right now. The fact that she is discovering on her own the bands that I grew up with and my parents grew up with, I think is amazing. And if it has to be through a TikTok trend or through me, I'm glad it's happening. One of the most iconic guitar solos, I think, in the history of rock and roll. It definitely has got to be under consideration for that. And now, Miles, you've gone with some heavier stuff to start off the night. So what are you going to follow up Hotel California with?
Yeah, I always kind of like to, I'm magnetized towards the heavier stuff a little bit. And I mean, one of the biggest influences to all of the metal bands out there was Van Halen. And how can you have a rock anthem list without Van Halen on there? We're doing a camp celebrating the 1984 album in just a couple weeks here. We have Michael Anthony coming in and Warren DeMartini and Sebastian Bach and Tommy Aldridge. It's going to be a great camp. But so I had to pick a Van Halen song. You really got me in there. And of course, you have to also have Eruption as part of that. I mean, those two, I think, together make an anthem. But of course, you really got me. Here's a song that is not an original song by Van Halen that they took. And when you think about the anthem version of it, of course, the Kinks, everyone loves the Kinks. They're legends. But the Van Halen song, I think, is really the one that kind of took on anthem status. And that's impressive for a cover song.
I don't know what I can add to that. You said it all. But of course, yeah, I love Van Halen. That's the only reason I'm into guitar playing and doing this music business thing. And You Really Got Me is one that we will hear a lot of in the next coming weeks at Rock Camp because it's simple, groovy, easy to play, and a lot of fun.
1978, Van Halen won arguably one of the greatest debut albums of all time. And anybody who knows this show knows I love cover songs, and this is one of the reasons I do. That's definitely one of those songs that when I first heard the Kinks version from my parents growing up, I was like, okay, this is fun. And then I heard Van Halen's version from my cousins because they're like, let me show you what your parents aren't showing you. And they put on Van Halen 1 and it changed my life. Like, it's one of those songs that your parents know the tune, but here's a version that's made just for you. At the time, I was 4 years old, and I'm like, this is incredible. The guitar is heavy. There's this swagger to it. The original was definitely fun, and Van Halen would not have covered it if it wasn't an amazing song, first and foremost. But Van Halen took it and said, sorry, it's ours now. And wow. Damn, Miles, I mean, you've left me to follow up Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, how do you do that?
There's only one name that I think that even could come close to putting it on the same level. And if we're going with classic rock anthems, let's just bring Jimi Hendrix into the fold. And let's go off of 1967's Are You Experienced and the legendary Purple Haze, which, believe it or not, only reached number 65 on the US Billboard Hot 100. So this was not a top 40 hit, even though it's one of those songs that is basically name a Jimi Hendrix song, Purple Haze. It's synonymous with his name, and yet it wasn't a top 40 hit. So this is one of those instances in the show where I say I'm pulling a song that everybody is familiar with from that artist, but believe it or not, was not the number one smash hit that people might assume it was.
Right.
Although in time, I think people did recognize its greatness because it was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame and is included on countless guitar lists of greatest guitar solos. And it also, along with a lot of songs we've been talking about tonight so far, made the list of Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time. I'm guessing this is a song that gets played a lot at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp because as much as you hear it on the radio, to me, it has never gotten old. It's been covered by everyone from Ozzy Osbourne, The Cure, Frank Zappa, The Stooges, Paul Rodgers, even Winger. The list goes on and on and on. This song is a staple of rock and roll music. And I don't think we can have a classic rock anthems playlist without rocking out to some Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, you got to have Jimmy on the list. I mean, yeah, I just envision him at Woodstock, and like that image is just like the biggest rock and roll statement in my mind. So Purple Haze, that's I think one of the best songs that he has, or at least one of the most popular ones. And we do that one does come up a lot in Rock Camp.
Yeah, of course, Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, both the best guitar players in the world, but also the thing about both of those groups, I think, because you got the Jimi Hendrix Experience, is what a band he had with him as well. That's a super group. Both of those bands are super groups making rock anthems, and I think that's another great choice for this list. Absolutely.
Well, Britt, you kick things off with Stairway to Heaven. You get the chance to now close out the side. So what is going to be the cherry on top of side A of our ultimate classic rock anthems mixtape?
All right. I went with the number one guitar riff that most guitar players first play when they pick it up. What's the opposite of Heaven, Smoke, and Deep Purple? So I went with Smoke on the Water.
Nice.
And yeah, this is a hard and heavy rocking classic with another legendary guitar player. And you just can't deny this one. I think every band that you hear, if you walk into a bar type venue, will be playing it, and it never gets old.
Yeah, well, that's another one that is banned from guitar centers. And I think once you're at status, you're an anthem.
Yeah.
An undeniable classic, 1972's Machine Head. The song reached number 4 on the US Billboard Hot 100. It also is included in Rolling Stone magazine's 500 greatest songs of all time, VH1's 40 greatest metal songs, Q Magazine's 100 greatest guitar tracks, VH1's greatest hard rock songs, and Total Guitar Magazine's top greatest guitar riffs ever, just to name a few. I think anybody who has ever worked in a guitar store, Guitar Center, Sam Ash, whatever you will, has heard this song more times, probably in one day, than some people maybe have heard it in their life. However, at the end of the day, this is still a fantastic track on an incredible album. Machine Head is much more than just Smoke on the Water. You have Highway Star, Maybe I'm a Leo, Lazy, Space Truck, and I mean, the entire album is just hit after hit after hit. Dweezil Zappa just remixed the album for Rhino's Super Deluxe Edition, which actually just dropped this past Friday. Hearing the song through a modern mix and a modern lens is stunning, because there was so much going on in that song that I never heard before. And I'm very excited to hear what the rest of Machine Head sounds like if they were able to extract so many nuances that got lost in the original mix. But yeah, Smoke on the Water, one of the greatest guitar riffs and certainly most memorable guitar riffs of all time. So I absolutely love the pick, and what a perfect way to close out Side A, which kicked off with Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, Kiss's Rock and Roll All Night, The Beatles' Come Together, Lynyrd Skynyrd's Freebird, Twisted Sister's We're Not Gonna Take It, Fleetwood Mac's The Chain, Eagles' Hotel California, Van Halen's You Really Got Me, Jimi Hendrix Experience's Purple Haze, and Deep Purple's Smoke on the Water. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. So now I want to take a few minutes to talk about the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Miles, for those who might not be familiar with the Rock Camp, can you start by giving some people an overview of what being an attendee is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, you come for 4 days. We do them all over the world. We have a couple coming up in Los Angeles right now, but we do them in various locations. We have one in New York City coming up this summer. And, you come, you get put in a band for 4 days. It's going to be mentored by a rock star counselor like Britt or Vinny Appice of Black Sabbath. And Britt is also, we got to give a lot of credit to Britt, because she does an incredible job actually putting these bands together. Before you even get to camp, you'll get on Zoom with Britt, and she will, kind of assess your skill level. She puts all these bands together by skill, so everyone has a great time. They're equally matched. And over 4 days, you jam with your idols. So, we just had a camp last week with Nancy Wilson and the DeLeo brothers from Stone Temple Pilots and Chris Slade from AC/DC. So people came, they got to jam with all of them. And then it all culminates. You play usually 2 shows at these next camps we have coming up. We're doing shows at the Whiskey A Go-Go and the Viper Room, and at this camp last week, we did the Troubadour. So,
nice.
You get to jam with rock stars, you get to play a legendary venue, you get to kind of be on tour for 4 days. It's amazing.
Now, Britt, I want to bring you into the conversation here based on what Miles said. You evaluate all the different fantasy camp attendees and kind of form these bands. So novices can sign up for this, as well as people that could, let's say, play Eruption with ease and their eyes closed?
Absolutely. We have all skill levels, all experience levels. We have people that just picked up a guitar during COVID, for example, and may have never played outside their bedrooms. And then we have people that play in tribute bands to some of these bands that we're having special guests up from. And so it's the full spectrum. And no matter what level you're at, you learn something from Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp.
Well, as the musical director for this, knowing how diverse and vast everyone's musical tastes are, how do you put together a program for each band that essentially covers the musical bases, or is that up to each band to decide where they're going to go over the course of 4 days?
Yeah, the bands act like bands in real life. I mean, they all, you either get along or you fight, but you work it out. You agree on songs or you don't, or you make a medley. So everybody's top song choices get in there, so everybody's happy. But we treat it like a real band. So you can really feel what it's like to be in a band for these 4 days. And the beauty of and magic of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is a lot of the time, we put these bands together. They're people from all over the world. Sometimes we have The last camp, we had somebody from Papua New Guinea, from Germany. We have people just from all different countries, all walks of life, all coming for different reasons, different points in their life, different things that they want to overcome or challenge themselves with. And a lot of times these bands stay together past the rock camp. So they will fly out for like semi-annual gigs at a location. They'll book a gig and they'll stay together. They'll talk and rehearse over Zoom. And it's an amazing thing.
That's incredible. Now, you guys deal with an insane lineup of musicians that come in to help counsel these bands and be a part of this. What is their role and how are they involved with the bands? Are they actually helping them choose the songs, helping them work out the stage show, or are they more just observing and giving feedback?
Oh, well, we have special guests like Nancy Wilson, for example. She comes in and you get to jam a heart song with Nancy. And so she'll talk to you about it. She'll tell you, like, my band at this last one did Kick It Out. And my singer was like, what is with the count? Like, the count is so weird where the chorus kicks in after, there's like a space between the chorus and the verse and things like that. And she said, we created that. We made up that count. It's not a real set count. We made it up so people wouldn't copy us. So you learn facts. You get to hear the stories behind how these songs were created, how parts were created. And a lot of times, especially in the case of Dave Mustaine, when he comes in from Megadeth, he'll tell you when you're playing it wrong, but he'll show you how to play it right. Right. And he'll say, the tabs are wrong. I've seen these and, nobody gets this part right. And what I'm really doing here is this. So it's pretty awesome.
And I want to add too, that's why we have the rock star counselors like Britt and Vinny Appice and Joel Hoekstra. Those are the really hands-on guys over the 4 days who are going to actually help you pick the songs, mentor you through them and everything. And so some people say, I come to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp for the headliners, but I keep on coming back because of the counselors, because, we have it's just a remarkable mix of musicians at every camp.
All right, now before we flip over to side B, I want to ask you each this question because at the end of the day, no matter what level of musician you're at, there's always people that are on your personal bucket list of somebody you'd want to jam with or learn from or be counseled by. Do each of you have dream counselors that you'd love to see at a Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp?
Do they have to be alive?
Yeah.
Let's say living right now.
Oh, all right. Because I would really like Eddie Van Halen and I would really like Jimi Hendrix. But
oh, God, yeah.
David Gilmour would be great. I mentioned the Eagles earlier. Joe Walsh would be awesome. David Lee Roth would be a lot of fun and interesting. And of course, Jimmy Page would be great.
Yeah, everything Britt said, of course, as well as, I'm a bass player, so I have my bass idols, like Les Claypool is one of my favorites of all time. Of course, I'd love to be counseled by him. But, all of the greats. I mean, I think anybody from Led Zeppelin, if we had John Paul Jones as a bass player would be remarkable.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right, well, flipping the tape over to side B, we're going to get back into classic rock anthems. And this time, Miles, we'll let you kick things off. Then I'll follow up and Britt will go third. So what are you going to kick off side B with?
Well, if we're talking anthems, I keep on thinking of these songs that every guitar player learns for the first time when they're first learning guitar. And Crazy Train by Ozzy has got to be one of those. I mean, that riff is one of the first ones everybody learns. It's the first song I ever learned. I'm a bass player. It's got a great bass line. And, that's another song you see it in movies all the time. You hear it on TV and in radio. It's stood the test of time and transcended the genre.
Ozzy Osbourne, 1980s Blizzard of Oz, ranked 9th greatest guitar solo ever by Guitar World magazine. It also made VH1's 40 greatest metal songs and ranked on Rolling Stone's 100 greatest heavy metal songs. This is the song that solidified Ozzy Osbourne as a solo force to be reckoned with. He was no longer in the shadow of Black Sabbath, not that he ever had to be, but this truly showed that Ozzy could stand on his own 2 feet and sustain a viable solo career. I love the fact that you brought up the bass line in Crazy Train. As a bassist myself, it's one of the first songs I learned as well. Alongside of No More Tears, I was an Ozzy fanatic at the time and still am. But the bass line in Crazy Train, I think, is one of the most underrated aspects of the song that people don't realize. That walk that's happening is really driving that entire verse. And especially underneath the pyrotechnics of the guitar solo, I feel like the bass gets overlooked in that song, and it's just as important than every other aspect to it.
You're right.
And that's speaking of bass players. Rudy Sarzo is a counselor at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and a lot of people's fantasies come true when they get in the jam rooms and jam Crazy Train with Rudy on the bass.
Oh, well, following up Ozzy, okay, I got to bring something heavy here tonight because so far I've kept it on a little bit. I mean, Jimi Hendrix is heavy, but I want to get a little heavier. And if we're going to follow up Ozzy, we got to bring Rush into this conversation. Let's just go with the big one. Opening track, Moving Pictures, 1981, Tom Sawyer. To me, it's one of those songs that I'm guessing the novice acts at the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp probably aren't attacking at least the novice drummers. And I mean, look, I guess I'm sure there's bands that are probably tried to attempt Xanadu and some other stuff from Rush. But to me, this is the one when you're talking about classic rock anthems, even the non-Rush fanatics know and appreciate this song. But I am going to be real here. As much as I love Tom Sawyer, it's no surprise if you go back and listen to the Ultimate Rush playlist episode featuring Steve from the Something for Nothing, a Rush fan cast episode. You already know that La Villa Strangiato is my favorite Rush song. I'm 100% in lockstep with Patreon mixtaper Mike Daly on that choice. However, we're talking about classic rock anthems. And even though La Villa Strangiato is a classic rock anthem to me, I also know it was not a heavily played radio cut for the band, so I know realistically, not every single classic rock fan is going to be familiar with that one. If you're listening and you want to go down a Rush deep dive, La Villa is definitely the place to go. However, for the classic rock audience listening tonight, I am going to go with the song that is the most familiar by Rush, and I think that's going to be Tom Sawyer. So Moving Pictures, 1980, Rush, Tom Sawyer.
I'm glad you chose that one because I don't know a ton of Rush. So that one I do know. That one I can sing along to. So I do think that's a good one. Everybody knows it.
Well, the good news is you wouldn't have to sing along with La Villa because it's an instrumental. So at least you'd be covered in that regard.
Yeah, I told you I don't know that much about Rush.
Right, you're going to get a bunch of angry emails now. Take that back. Pretend you know Rush.
Hey, you know what I said on Access TV? They asked me to comment on Rush, and I said, well, the best thing about a Rush concert is there's never a line for the women's bathroom.
Believe it or not, I had the exact opposite of that happen when I took my wife to see the Dixie Chicks. The line for the men's room was non-existent. It was the first time I'd ever seen that at a concert.
Yeah, I saw Pantera with Metallica over the summer. There was no women's line and the men's line. Oh my God. But you know, yeah, Tom Sawyer, Rush. I love Rush. I love Geddy Lee. You know, I think he's an underrated bass player as well.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, we talk a lot about his singing and everything, but you know, yeah, Tom Sawyer, I think that's one of the first Rush songs people are introduced to, and it's definitely got that anthem status.
All right, Britt, following up Ozzy and Rush, what do you got?
Okay, one of my favorite songs of all time. You got to put the Rolling Stones on the list. We haven't had them yet. And Gimme Shelter is just, it's such a rockin' but chilling but emotional song, and it just hits everything for me. Playing wise, vocal wise, and again, it starts off, I like these, I guess I like the songs that take you on the journey and have the dynamics. I really like that, how it really starts off slow with just that plucking guitar, and then you've got these wailing vocals at the end that are just amazing.
Yeah, every Rolling Stones song is kind of an anthem. I mean, that's a hard one, a hard band to pick just one for. And, you know, Gimme Shelter is a great one. We had Daryl Jones, the current Rolling Stones bass player, at camp last summer. And you know, getting to see him up and doing that one with all the campers was, I mean, just to even hear it come out of his bass amp in person was amazing. So I'll always remember that with that song specifically. That's a great pick.
And we've also had Chuck Leavell a couple times at camp too, the musical director for over 20 years and the keyboard and piano player for the Rolling Stones. So we've had
Bill Wyman. Bill Wyman.
That's right. We've got a lot of Stones influence at camp. I'm still waiting on Keith, but that's all right. I'll keep waiting.
Right.
They happen. I'll add him to the list of Keith and Mick. The list of hopefuls.
Yeah.
Britt, I have to offer the biggest of hat tips for you on that choice. Gimme Shelter is my all-time favorite Rolling Stones song. I couldn't love this choice more. It's also ranked on Rolling Stones, the magazine this time, 500 greatest songs of all time. I know I've mentioned that list a lot tonight, but hey, these are classic rock anthems, so they kind of belong there. And it also ranks on both Pitchfork and Rolling Stone's list of the best Rolling Stones songs. How many times did I say Rolling Stones there? Anyway, it's probably why when they released Sweet Sounds of Heaven with Lady Gaga, it's why I gravitated to that song so much, because it just reminded me of a modern telling of Gimme Shelter, because Lady Gaga was channeling the Mary Clayton role in that song. And God, the first time I heard Gimme Shelter, it was a religious musical experience for me. And that's not easy to do in music, to be able to get to that point where, is this gospel? Is this rock? Is this blues? What is happening here? And the Rolling Stones achieved it in epic fashion.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to lie, Miles, you have a tough decision to make next, because you have to follow up the epicness of Gimme Shelter. How are you going to do it?
I'm going to make some people roll eyes with this one, probably. But, to follow up the Rolling Stones with Nirvana, don't yell at me. Don't yell at me yet. But I think Nirvana, they gotta be on this list. I know we're saying classic rock anthems, but Nirvana has played over and over again on every classic rock radio station ever at this point. So, and this song specifically, Smells Like Teen Spirit, is, at the top of that list. They play it constantly on radio stations. And, something every one of these songs has in common is they all just get your energy going. And I think that song does that in a big way. So I'm calling it an anthem.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just a couple power chords at the beginning, but you just know what it is right away. There's nothing else like it. It's got that edgier, angstier vibe. And you're right, Miles. Now Nirvana is considered classic rock, believe it or not. So it is a classic rock anthem.
Right.
It's 33 years old right now. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. Nevermind was released in 1991, freshman year in high school for me. This song has such a legacy. Once again, Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time. It also is included in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's list of the songs that shaped rock and roll. But there's a legacy to this song that's bigger than both of those things. Weird Al parodied the song as Smells Like Nirvana for his Off the Deep End album. I don't know about you, but I think that's bigger than any award, any list, any Grammy could ever indicate. It's the Weird Al stamp of approval. But to me, 1991 is not 33 years ago. As far as I'm concerned, time actually stopped in 2000. It was a product of Y2K. There was nothing we could ever do about it. And it is still 9 years from 1991, not 33 years like 2024 would indicate.
It's crazy because this upcoming rock camp we're celebrating 40 years since 1984 and Out of the Cellar. So it's like, wow, I can't believe 40 years since those amazing albums.
Like, Britt and I haven't even celebrated 40 years of life yet. So,
man, Miles, following up Smells Like Teen Spirit is no easy feat, but I think I know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to match the power of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit with another riff that I would say is just as powerful and definitely fits into that classic rock lens. I know you both mentioned having Nancy Wilson at one of the rock and roll fantasy camps. I'm going to go with one of her most vicious riffs. From 1977's Little Queen, I'm going to go with Barracuda. Shockingly, again, not a top 40 hit. It only reached 53 on the US Billboard Hot 100, which to me is absolutely shocking because it's one of the band's signature songs. I don't think there could possibly be a Heart concert that doesn't include this at some point of the evening. And I wanted to bring in more female artists into this classic rock mix. We obviously have Stevie Nicks and Christine McVie on side A. Let's go with Ann and Nancy Wilson on side B. Anne is probably my favorite female singer of all time alongside of Aretha Franklin. She is just on another planet. I'm not going to lie, I had a coin flip between that and Magic Man on my list because they're two of my favorite Heart songs, but I think coming out of Smells Like Teen Spirit, Magic Man would have been a little bit of a weird pivot, but Barracuda keeps that energy up, and I think it's the perfect song to go here.
Oh yeah, I think Barracuda is definitely the choice over Magic Man. I would go for that for sure. Yeah, it's very driving and punchy and fierce. That guitar riff is fierce.
Yeah, I mean, that's the song you have to go for as far as an anthem from Heart goes. I mean, that's a song that, when I was telling some buddies about this camp we had last week and nobody necessarily, because I hang out with a group that doesn't know rock and roll music. It's weird. But they were all, just saying heart, they might not necessarily know it, but as soon as I start singing the riff, everyone, oh yeah, Barracuda, of course. So, definite anthem.
Wow, Miles, next time we have that song be played at camp, which we do every camp, I think you should do the intro with your mouth like that. I think I like that even better. That's even more of an anthem to me.
Miles Schumann, classic rock beatboxer. Extraordinaire.
Yeah, forget the talk boxes. We had a guy at the last camp with a talk box. He should have just brought me on. I could have done all those parts.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're using you for that this camp.
Good.
All right, Britt, what are you going to follow up Barracuda with?
All right, another riff where you hear that guitar come in and you know exactly what it is. Another fierce song because it's about the tiger, the Eye of the Tiger, Survivor. Nice. This is a huge anthem for not just rock. I think it's just across the board for people that want to accomplish something. It gives you hope. I mean, of course, you related to the Rocky movies and you just have that overall feeling of you can do anything when you listen to this song.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's in every movie ever. It's like the best action scene music of all time, basically. And yeah, that riff is, I would say, top 5 most recognizable guitar riffs, rock riffs ever. So I agree. It's got to be on the list.
From the soundtrack to 1982's Rocky III, as well as their album Eye of the Tiger, another classic rock track. It won a Grammy for Best Rock Performance that year, and Eye of the Tiger, unlike Barracuda, topped the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, so it was a #1 hit for the band. So I have to ask, when you guys do a rock and roll fantasy camp in Philadelphia, are you contractually obligated to play that song?
It would be if we did rock camps, but we don't really do too many in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
No, that was... Yeah, Philadelphia was the first camp I was ever in, but there haven't been, or first camp I ever went to, I didn't actually do it, but we haven't had too much over there since.
Did you guys play Eye of the Tiger there?
Yeah, I'm sure it came up at some point in that camp.
Miles was 2 at this point, so he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah.
Even if you go to church in Philadelphia, I think that's one of the hymns they play on the.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Great.
All right, Miles, what are you going to follow up? You've been bringing the heavy all night tonight. What are you going to follow up Eye of the Tiger with?
I've been bringing the heavy, and, at first when I was thinking about this next one, I was thinking, okay, this one's actually not as heavy, but it gets heavy. I mean, realistically, this one gets heavy towards the end. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. I think I'm going to follow kind of Britt's pattern here of choosing songs that really take you on a journey. This one really takes you on a journey, and it's one of the quintessential rock anthems.
I get that it takes you on a journey. I'm going to be totally honest, and I'll probably get haters on this one, but I can't listen to that song. If it ever comes on, I skip it immediately. So I'm going to fast forward through track number 7, side B of this mixtape.
But I have to ask, Britt, did you like the scene in Wayne's World?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I still doesn't mean I'm going to listen to this song.
I'm going to send that to Spike Edney.
No, please don't, actually.
We had Queen's keyboard player as a regular counselor at Rock Camp. And so Spike, look what Britt just said.
Okay, well, yeah, that's why I didn't choose that one for the counselor jam. We chose Tie Your Mother Down instead.
Right.
That's a killer riff. That's an awesome Brian May riff right there. But we're talking about Bohemian Rhapsody from 1975's A Night at the Opera. The song reached 33 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, so it is a top 40 song. I assumed it was going to be a little higher, a little surprised about that one. But the song has made countless greatest songs of all time lists. It's also listed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. In 2018, it became the most streamed classic rock song of all time. And in 2022, the U.S. Library of Congress recognized the song as part of the National Recording Registry as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And it was in Wayne's World. But following up Bohemian Rhapsody is actually a challenge because that is such a massive song. And I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to tap into the theatrical nature of Queen and follow it up with something that is also theatrical in nature, both figuratively, musically, and literally, as there was a movie based on this album. I'm going to go off of 1979's The Wall, and we're going to go with Pink Floyd. Now, I already know people are automatically assuming that I'm going to go with Comfortably Numb, and I really could here. The song is amazing. The guitar solo is one of the best of all time. But I want to throw a little bit of a curveball into one of my picks tonight. I think here's where I'm going to do it. Because when I hear the ending of Bohemian Rhapsody, Any Way the Wind Blows, I don't know why, but I hear the opening to In the Flesh, and that is what I'm going to follow Bohemian Rhapsody up with. This song is so massive. It's been covered by some amazing groups. Dream Theater did it as part of the big medley for the Change of Seasons EP. Typo Negative used to come out on stage to it. The Foo Fighters covered it on their Wasting Light tour with Taylor Hawkins on vocals. I mean, this song influences rock and roll. And then there's the movie aspect of this, which I'm not even going to get into, but the song itself is theatrical musically, if that makes sense. And I feel like coming out of Queen, this is the curveball to do it. In the Flesh from Pink Floyd's The Wall.
I can't deny that. Although if I were going to pick an anthem by Pink Floyd, I think I would have gone with Comfortably Numb.
I 100% get where you're coming from, and I won't argue it in any way, shape, or form.
No, I love that choice. I mean, any song that my parents fried their brains to in the 70s is considered an anthem. So that's a great one.
Well, Britt, we are back to you for your last pick of the evening. What do you got?
All right. So we just had this past camp with Chris Slade, who played drums for AC/DC. And I think they are the absolute quintessential rock and roll anthem band. Out of all of these bands, they're all amazing bands. They all bring something, but AC/DC is the anthem band. And Highway to Hell is just, the answer to Stairway to Heaven, but Highway to Hell, I think this is the one that everybody wants to shout on top of the roof of their cars outside the concert and wave their hands to. And this encapsulates all of classic rock.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the most fun songs of all time and so simple to play, too. I think any musician starting out can appreciate AC/DC because you can play Highway to Hell after not too much time. And what a great song.
Couldn't agree more. There are so many anthemic AC/DC songs. Every song they play in concert. This one's special to me, though, because I got in trouble in kindergarten because I brought in my cousin's Highway to Hell album for show and tell. And my mom got a phone call that I was bringing in inappropriate Devil's music to school. And my mom's like, Devil's music? That's an incredible album. What are you talking about? So I adore this pick. But looking at this list, Miles, you now have to close out side B and the entire mixtape for the evening. So how do you do that with all of these heavy hitters?
That's a lot of pressure, but I think I've got the perfect one here because here's a song that influenced every other band on this list, and that is My Generation, The Who. I think it's one of the greatest rock anthems of all time. Also one of those songs that I've heard so many times that I'm not necessarily listening to it all the time. And I think that's a sign of a rock anthem too. You hear it so much, you don't have to have it on your own personal mixtape. It can be on the rock anthem mixtape. And I'll add real quick too that Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, David Fishoff, our founder, always credits Roger Daltrey with really kind of kicking things off for him. Once Roger did it, everybody wanted to do it. So that's my pick.
So true. And yes, I got to say, Roger Daltrey said, going to rock camp reminds me of where we all came from before we were rock stars and takes you back there and makes you appreciate things and changes your perspective a little bit. So, thanks to Roger. And My Generation, that's one of my favorite Who songs. Miles, great pick. I love The Who. I love everything that band is. Crazy Keith Moon and, Pete Townsend doing the windmills and knocking over the amps and all that chaos and rebellion, again, just makes a great classic rock anthem.
My Generation, great pick, an anthem for generations. Obviously, it's been known for decades because of The Who. Green Day covered the song for their version, bringing it into the punk era in the 90s. This song is the starting point for so many bands and so many songs. I had Baba O'Reilly on my list, but any song by The Who works perfectly in the closing spot, which closes side B of our classic rock anthems mixtape, which kicked off with Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train, Rush's Tom Sawyer, Rolling Stones' Gimme Shelter, Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit, Heart's Barracuda, Survivor's Eye of the Tiger, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, Pink Floyd's In the Flesh, AC/DC's Highway to Hell, and The Who's My Generation. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. So Britt, along with the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, you're also quite busy with Vixen. So what does 2024 have in store for the band in terms of touring and possibly maybe some new music?
Yes, so we released a new single late last year, and I'm hoping that we release something sooner rather than later as a follow-up single. We're not going to do a full album right now. We're just doing the singles because it seems to be a singles market at the moment. And we got a great busy summer lined up. We're getting new tour dates daily. We have a lot that we can't announce yet, but it's stay tuned. You can check it out on vixenofficial.com or follow us on social media, and we'll be announcing new tour dates shortly all over the U.S. and some international dates as well.
And Miles, if people want to learn more about the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, as well as to check out Rock Camp, the podcast, how would they go about doing so?
Yeah, rockcamp.com. Very simple. Go. You'll find all our upcoming camps there. Rockcamp.com/podcast is where you can stay up to date on the podcast stuff. And follow us on Instagram, Rock Fantasy Camp there. You can find us on Facebook, and you will get all those updates. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter too, which you can do at rockcamp.com. So those are kind of the best ways to stay up to date.
Britt and Miles, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys so much for joining me on My Weekly Mixtape.
It's our pleasure. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks for having us.
Remember, you can find My Weekly Mixtape on all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, become a future guest, and so much more. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.